Good morning, welcome to the Staffordshire-Worcestershire Canal. I've got my reading glasses on because I've just arrived. I've put some bait out already, the usual brown crumb and mixed maggots, but I'm going to change the hook. Now I have my rod already made up. It's a float rod, but it's ready to go. So when you do that, and you're fishing a similar way over a period of time, you need to make sure that you change your hook on a regular basis. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I keep all my hooks, by the way, in a little folder there. It's a very old one. I've had this years. And I mean like 25 years or something like that. It's the Shakespeare President range. But still going strong, because at the end of the day it's just somewhere where I slot a few hooks, and I'm going for a size 18 Drennan Super Specialist. I've been fishing with those hooks for years, and again I really do mean years. Never let me down, and although especially when it comes to carp and boilie fishing in general, I do use other types. For the general type of angling, fishing with maggot on the canal after perch, well, that's the way I go. So I tie a simple knot. Again, I use knots that I've used all my life, half blood knots, loop to loop. Something works, don't forget to wet as well. A little bit of spit. I know it doesn't sound very nice, but no one else is touching it. You're not tying someone else's hooks for them. But when you're using mono, always wet around the hook before you tighten it, because it helps the smoothness of the knot. And of course, it avoids friction as well. I'm ready to go. See that there? That will have a maggot on it in due course. Well, actually it won't, because I'll be putting a plummet on first, because I want to, and I'm glad I reminded myself there. It was something I was intending to do. I was just talking through the process there, because I know what the depth is and the canals are pretty standard anyway. But whenever you fish a swim for the first time, like I am this morning, then stick your plummet on. Your hook goes through the top and then into the piece of cork. Float's already made up, it's fixed at the top. I'll drop that out into the spot where I'm going to fish, let it settle, and then raise it slightly, and I'm about 10 inches over depth there, so I need to then move the float down slightly. You don't want too much over depth, because you won't be in direct contact with what's going on. Now in time, of course, the float will move along the water, and then you'll have a little bit more of a straight line, or a curve, a line at an angle. But ideally you want to be just into contact with it. Now that's better, that's much better. I've got just a couple of inches showing at the top, and then with my little anchor shot that I've got at the end, that will be perfect. Doesn't take long to think things through, to get it right. That's important. It's all about preparation, isn't it? If you build a wall, what's the most important thing initially? The foundations. Get your foundations right for the session, and then you've got more chance of it going well afterwards. I'm out, waiting for that first fish, and in the meantime I'm going to pour a cup of tea. If you saw my video from yesterday, It was a football related one. I said that I was going fishing at the end. I'd been to work, done all my stuff. I did go lure fishing for about an hour or so on a lake that I fished many times in the past, done okay with perch. However, yesterday is my first visit there for a considerable amount of time due to the COVID situation. I blanked, and what I noticed was it's a very clear lake. There were no small fish at all in the margins, and because it's clear, as it begins to extend from the margins, the fish get bigger, so you get the tiny little ones right there in the immediate margin, which is just inches deep, and then as it drops down into several feet, you get the perch about that big, huge shoals of them. You can have fun actually when you're fishing, just throwing some maggots into them and you watch them all descend on them. They take them as they fall through the water. Nothing at all. And that's where you're pretty much guaranteed to catch something. If you don't get one of the bigger perch further out or up against the features, you can just pull a tiny lure through the margins and you catch those perch for fun. Nothing at all. A few years ago, a couple of so years ago, not that long, I noticed there were cormorants on there over the winter, and they are very active. They eat a lot of fish, and by the time they finished, no small fish in the margins. And because no one's been on that pool, anglers or members of the public walking around it, everything's been closed, I think that the cormorants have had a field day. We know that that happens anyway on venues where they wipe fish out, and because it's happened there already, I've seen that with my own eyes, then I think that's sadly the case there. Cormorants, if you're like me, you are a naturalist, you love the natural world, but you're also a very keen angler and you're in direct communication with what's going on, you do see both sides of the fence, as it were. But nevertheless, however you look at it, cormorants are a problem. And I guess otters, for many anglers, also fit into that category as well. There's a constant battle going on, isn't there, with anglers who inherently, by the fact that we are out there at the water's edge, we are often at one with the natural world, but sometimes the natural world encroaches a little bit too much onto the reason why anglers are out there in the first place. Anyway, I'll be back with a bream. That's what I'm going for this morning. Nothing yet. Been watching the float while I've been talking, but I'll catch something. I'm pretty confident of that. And I think my first one will be a bream. Let's see, shall we? In the meantime, I'll finish this cup of tea off before it goes cold. When I walked along the canal this morning, I wasn't really paying too much attention, but I noticed the water had a certain amount of colour, and I'm getting a bite now actually as I'm talking. Oh, and I've got a fish on. I had a certain amount of colour to bream, a certain amount of colour, and I thought, oh, there must have been a boat through. I didn't really think about it too much. But then the water didn't go back to a normal clarity. And then I sort of thought to myself, do you know what it looks like? Have you ever been to Scotland? You see those peat, or you might live in Scotland. You see those streams and rivers that flow through the peat area, and they're a certain colour, like an orangey colour. That's what the canal's like. So I'm not sure what's happened, because we haven't had any rain, so no sediment has washed in. And I was thinking, this is going to be a struggle. However, just as I do the little clip to talk about how difficult it is, I get a fish. I need my glasses on. The hook's nice and clean in the mouth of the fish. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to show it, and then I'll get the hook out. It's a small skimmer, a lively one, a small skimmer, but I'll tell you what, I'm really happy just to be off the mark with that. Oh, the hook's just come out naturally. It was right on the edge, and I've got an unhooking mat there, and it's just gone onto that. I always have a mat and keep it in place, even for the small fish. Doesn't want its photograph taken. It's very shy. I'll get this one back. I've got some movement on the float there. It has been quite slow today. This is where, if I had a camera crew or even a cameraman, he would be focusing on the float, trying to get the bite. Actually, I don't think it's going to develop. But if I did strike and there was nothing there, that's when they would be saying to me, throw your rod up the bank, have a tantrum. It's good for the camera. However, when you film like I do, it's just me and my iPhone on a tripod and no dramatics, telling it as it is, including when the session is a difficult one. We all have those, don't we? If anglers say they don't, well, I'm not saying they tell lies, but we all have times when we blank, times when we catch maybe one fish. That's all I've had so far today. Times when we don't catch as much as we would like. However, the other side of the coin is that there are plenty of sessions when we do get something on the bank, and every now and then might be a special fish. And that's the beauty of angling, isn't it? When you go out, you don't know. I was up this morning I woke naturally. I can't go this evening because I'm at a game, a football game. So I was up naturally 5:20, around there, and I loaded the car and came down to the canal. You think to yourself, that's an early time to get up. Was it really worth it for one small bream so far? I'll tell you something, it's always worth it. And the thing is, when you go, you don't know that you'll only catch one small bream. You don't know that you'll blank, because you could catch a 4-pound perch. And over the years, I've had a couple of those from the Staffordshire-Worcestershire Canal. There's not many in here. They are like the needle in the haystack. But you never know, do you? On those occasions that I went fishing, I could have thought that day, oh, it's cold, it's raining, conditions aren't good, it is a bit slow at the moment, or whatever, and I didn't go, and I wouldn't have caught a 4-pound perch. But you go, and you enjoy it anyway. That's the important thing, isn't it? I'm going to conclude the video now, so if I do get anything else, well, you'll be watching the video and you'll see the fish on the screen. Unless it's really special, then I'll come back and do an extra clip. But that's over and out from me. Fishing yourself this week? Tight lines and enjoy.